What if the way you teach and care for young children could change the world? Welcome to Reimagine Childhood, brought to you by the Early Childhood Christian Network, helping you grow as an educator, leader, and follower of Jesus. Early childhood is a sacred season where hearts are shaped, faith begins to grow, and lifelong learning takes root. We believe teaching young children is more than a job, it's a calling. That's why each episode is filled with practical strategies, real stories, and faith-based encouragement to help you create joyful, meaningful learning experiences in your classroom and beyond. Let's reimagine what's possible in early childhood together. I'm your host, Monica Healer, and I'm so glad you're here. You are going to love today's guest. Let me introduce you to Brock Eastman, aka Dr. Phineas Einstein Fizzlebop, who believes in the 4 F's: faith, family, fun, and fizz. Brock is an award-winning author or co-author of several books, and he writes for Clubhouse and Clubhouse Jr magazine. He works in marketing for a major Christian publisher, and his favorite role is dad and husband. If you normally listen to our podcast on higher speeds, you may want to throttle that back to regular speed or even a little bit slower. Brock talks fast and furious in this episode. He has so much to share, and he is so excited about this topic. He is loads of fun. He has a passion for connecting faith to everyday life, and he brings a lot of joy to everything he does. With Father's Day happening this weekend, you may want to check out a really fun Father's Day experiment on Dr. Fizzlebop's website. That's linked in the show notes, or you can go to drfizzlebop.com and find it there. This is an episode you may want to watch on YouTube because Dr. Fizzlebop shares a couple of science experiments at the end with us, and y'all, he's in costume, so you don't want to miss it. Our YouTube link is in the show notes as well, or you can just search Early Childhood Christian Network on YouTube. I can't wait for you to dive into today's episode that really does include faith, family, fun, and fizz. Let's get to it. Brock, I'm so excited to welcome you to the Reimagine Childhood podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Hey, we have such a fun conversation planned today, talking about science and faith and how that helps young children get to know God, how it helps them explore the world. Let's jump right in. Like, what makes you interested in science?
Yeah, even as a little boy, I mean, I think about the things I enjoyed and liked. And so here, okay, now you can see my shirt maybe, and I've got some stuff on my, if you're watching the YouTube channel, you'll see this stuff. If you're on audio, you won't see it. I'm holding up something, 2 things. Do you see what those are?
Yeah.
And they are, what are they?
It's a dinosaur, maybe a
This is kind
triceratops. I don't know. I'm not that good. And the
dinosaur.
the other one looks like a dinosaur foot, maybe.
Dinosaur.
But it's a mug. A dinosaur foot mug. There you go.
And the reason why is because when I was growing up, I would be a paleontologist. A paleontologist studies dinosaurs. And I think that was the coolest thing. And paleontology is a science, of course.
Yeah.
And so I've always just had this this desire to learn and to explore. But at the time, I was a little boy, wanted to be a paleontologist. The movie Jurassic Park came out, right? And so then we got into genetic engineering and what that all looks like, right? So it was really a scientific field in my mind as a little boy.
Yeah.
I progressed a little bit into middle school and said I want to be an aerospace engineer. But the STEM fields are the ones that I was most interested in, intrigued by as a young boy. And so it's just always been the natural part of me to want to explore science and do fun
Yeah.
things and experiments. Fast forward, I went to college for marketing and I work in publishing. And that's what I do as my day job, right? That's my day job. But I'm a dad of 4 kids. And I have a 16, 14, 12, and 10-year-old. And so they, they're exploring the world around him. And as a dad, I want to come alongside them and to decide, how can we explore this world together? How can we connect that to our faith? And so that's a lot more answer than you asked for. But
Yeah.
the point is, I've always been interested in exploring things like my imagination or the world around me. So that's really why science.
Well, I love that as a little boy, you were super interested in STEM, and now you literally are in the world of language. You've gone a different direction, and your professional life, at least, is, you said it, publishing and marketing, and that is opposite. I mean, that's to me is the opposite end of the STEM world. But as a part of that publishing world, and just the fact that you are an imaginative, curious guy, you've created this series called the Dr. Fizzlebop series. Y'all, I'm excited to introduce you to Dr. Fizzlebop today. If you're not on YouTube, you should go look because Brock is also in costume as Dr. Fizzlebop, which is so fun. So tell me how Dr. Fizzlebop came about.
Yeah, this is really fun. And as you can see, Fizzlebop Labs, it's if you look at some of my own YouTube shows or some of the progression over the last few years, Fizzlebop Labs has changed depending on where we live.
Okay.
So for what house we moved to, my lab moved. But here's the fun thing. It was actually, wow, it actually goes quite a ways back to about 2018, 2019. And I started to write a magazine article series for Clubhouse Jr magazine from Focus on the Family. And I was writing a Dr. Fizzlebop column. And so just a simple science experiment, something simple kids and parents could do at home together and connect it back to a Bible verse or their faith. And so it was really fun. Fast forward, and we mentioned this off camera a minute ago, but fast forward to the pandemic when that came. And my friend at Tyndale Kids reached out to me and said, "Hey, Brock, we're going to do this summer virtual camp, the Tyndale Kids virtual camp. Could you be the host of the show?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that'd be really fun." And I was in Illinois at our summer house, and we were just there. I'm like, "My kids will jump on. We'll grab a camera. We'll film some intros." And they were going to put the rest of the content in there for each day of the week for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks. It was quite long. Um, I'm like, "Okay, I'll do that." The guy who was going to do science ended up not being able to do it. And I said, "Well, Linda, I've got this character I've been writing for in Clubhouse Jr magazine. His name's Dr. Fizzlebop. I would love to bring him to life on camera. It'd be a lot of fun." So I ended up hosting the show as Brock Eastman and being Dr. Fizzlebop in the lab with my kiddos. And those videos are still on YouTube, and they are so cute. They're still cute, but they were very little then. That's 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, or 5 years ago. We brought Dr. Fizzlebop to life on camera for this VBS. The next year, they did the virtual summer camp again, and I said, "Hey, let's have Dr. Fizzlebop back again. Will you host again?" And we brought him back again. In the between, Linda and I were talking, and we're like, "That'd make a really good devotional. That'd be a really fun devotional book." And so I know you don't have it with you yet, but this is Faith and Science with Dr. Fizzlebop. It's a 52-week devotional for families, really. 8 to 12-year-old kids could do it themselves. There's nothing crazy in here, but it's really meant for families. And we can talk more about that why. But so we did the devotional, and then we launched kind of a YouTube show where we were doing them. And again, my full-time profession is working for in the publishing industry. So it was videos of my kids when we found time to set them up and do the experiments, right? I'm the writer, director, editor, producer, sound, audio, you name it, right?
Everything. Yeah.
So it's a lot, but he came to life. The book came out, and the book started seeing success. And people were reaching out, churches were reaching out, saying, "Hey, can you come speak at our parenting event? Can you come speak at our church? Can you come do our school?" And so I started to go and do experiments for people and do parenting events and fun. And it was a couple years later, and I reached out to my friend Larry Whedon at Focus on the Family and said, "Hey, I've got these little board books. I think they're really cute. They're about super simple science with Dr. Fizzlebop." And what I'm really passionate about is helping little toddlers, little kids in their parents' lap start to connect their faith to the world around them, to the science. How does it all work? And that's what the devotional is about as well. But this is a way for early on kids to get involved. And if in a minute we can talk more about why I care about the board books from another project that really kind of inspired me. But that's how Dr. Fizzlebop came to life, and it's still running in Clubhouse Jr magazine right now as an article. And so it's just in different spots: video, magazines, and books.
What I love about your story is just how God works out all those details in his right timing, right? Like you have this desire and this curiosity with your own kids to do fun things, to teach them about the world, and to connect that to the Lord, to connect that to their faith. And that's where I think that's what I really want for our preschool programs to think through. Okay, we do science in our classrooms every day, hopefully. Or some form of it, right? Like maybe we're not doing experiments, but we are talking about creation. We're talking about how God shows up for us. Hopefully, we're connecting all those things to faith, that God made all these things, that the way chemicals react together, the way we can drop a Mentos in a Diet Coke and watch it. Like, it's so fun. How do we connect that to faith? Like, I think that's that next step that we really need help with, which is why I love that you've created these resources for that. Because I think as parents, as classroom teachers, for a lot of people, that doesn't come naturally. We love the science. We love God. Connecting them together feels hard.
Well, and I was reading for that, and if you remind me towards the end of the show, I got a couple experiments we can do together too to talk about the fun science there. But no, you're absolutely right, and I think as our generation, Monica, you're my generation. Very much, we felt this disconnect or this forced disconnect between faith and science. Right? We've seen that in our culture the last 10, 20 years, probably since about before the 80s. But I grew up in the 80s, so as you saw the 80s, 90s, you really knew. Okay, school is a place for learning, church is a place for worship. They don't
Yeah.
really belong unless you lived in a small town. I lived in a small town where a lot of my teachers were Christians. They went to schools nearby. It was a public
Yeah.
school. My kids currently go to a charter school where a lot of teachers are Christians. And so while they can't preach in school and they can't practice it directly, there's this community around
Right.
that belief as a center for belief. But that's not typical for most schools, for most kids, for
Right.
most families experience. So that separation has begun. And so there's two sides to it, right? There's one is how do we make kids see the world around them in a way they're like, wow, there's a creator behind that. There's an intelligent designer. It works that way because that was how it was designed to work. And I'm going to talk about the unlocking in a second of what I think is important and what will actually happen if we start to embrace that. But it's the same thing as you get into the younger kids, right? Early on in these childhood, we're talking about these preschoolers, these toddlers, these kindergartners, right? At these early stages, when they start to make those memories that will be lasting a lifetime, we want them to be looking around the world around them and be like, oh, I know how that works. And you know what? I can connect that to a Bible story or a
Yeah.
Bible verse or something that'll help me in that moment. Why that's important is because, let's say, you've got a kiddo, he's 4 or 5 years old, you read this book to them, they've got this connection, you've done this really fun the chicken sounds from a cup story, okay? I've got chicken sounds from a cup experiment we can do later. And they hear this fun clucking sound, all right? But they're learning about an amplifier, about how sound is amplified and projected,
Wow.
okay?
Yeah.
So fast forward, they're in high school, they're in a STEM class, maybe it's technology, maybe it's engineering, and they're learning about an amplifier. It just so happens, Monica, that you got after them that day, and they're a little upset with their mom, right? They were having a really bad day. Maybe their grades are down or something's not going well at school or whatever it could be. They're in trouble for something. They're doing that study, and they're hearing the scientific explanation about amplifier, and they're like, I remember sitting on my mom's lap, reading a book. We were doing a devotional together, and we did a chicken sounds from a cup, and we learned about amplification.
Yeah.
Wasn't that about Peter denying God? Is that where I'm at in my life right now? I think that God plants seeds early on in our lives through moments, right? And
Mhm.
those will come back and redeem themselves later in that child's life. I know as an adult, there are things I reflect on as a child that I learned. They're the weirdest moments, Monica. Driving down the road in my car. I'll be at the office. Who knows what the trigger might be, but something will trigger me and I'll be like, "Oh, Lord, what's going on? I get it."
Mhm.
And I think that's why it's so important at an early stage to start to help these kids connect things in their world. And we're talking about science, but things in their world back to anchors in faith. And when we can do that, those moments will come and be redeemed. As a parent, we may never know that moment even exists with our kiddo sitting in that classroom or in college or wherever that might be, or as an adult with their own kids.
Oh, yeah.
But those seeds planted early will sprout later. And I think that's really what I'm after as a dad is making those moments. I'll pause for a second. I've got so much here,
Yeah.
that I think about, but
I mean, I love that because I agree with you. I feel like even in our Christian world, like most of the programs that we support through ECCN, they're in a church. And yet, even there, I think what's become normal is that science and faith are separated, and we have this idea that they're actually at odds with each other.
yeah,
That if we're talking about science, then we're not faithful. And if we're talking about faith, then that's probably not science. Like we just don't build the two together. I love what you're saying about as for these young children, we are creating moments. And what we know about learning theory, brain theory, right, is that the way young children learn is they create little compartments in their brain, and they're not really compartments, but that's how it is, right? Like
that's right,
they
sure.
have a little compartment and then they hook something else onto that thing that they know, right? And so what we're doing is we're saying, hey, here's this great science concept. Here's this concept from creation. Here's something about the way the world works. That's true. That's science. That's fact. We can prove it. We can see it. And on that same hook, I want you to hang a piece of faith to that. Because that's gonna, I mean, that literally is how we learn, right? We keep hanging hooks on the same thing. And eventually we have this big honeycomb. I mean, there's actually a book called Honeycomb Theory, but eventually we have this big honeycomb that's all connected, right? Why wouldn't we want to add faith to all of those little compartments, right? We don't want faith to be separate from our other things, right? I'm a big proponent of we don't just have a Bible story time in our classroom or a devotional time in our classroom. faith is integrated into who we are. It's what we do all day.
Yep.
And so I love this. So let's move on to the board books. What made you passionate about creating board books?
Yeah. Oh man, there's so much to say here. So
Yeah.
actually, funny enough, like you said earlier, what was I interested in growing up, and what did I end up doing? Okay, so in school, I wrote stories. I actually found one that I wrote back in like second grade, but I didn't actually like to write. I didn't really think of it as a thing I did. I did it because I had to, or
Yeah.
I keep it. I didn't read any books. I really didn't like to read at all, and so it
Wow.
wasn't college when I got married, and my wife and I at the time, fiance, raced through a book series, and I'm like, wow, there's so much here to explore. Like, this is great. I can imagine characters and like that. So I'm writing, but I always picture myself as a middle grade writer, somebody writing for 8 to 12-year-olds. That's what my sweet spot was. That's what I like. And I had this idea. My little guy, Declan, he didn't like to brush his teeth. He was little, and so I'm like, okay, let's brush our teeth. We're gonna do it like a tiger, like our teeth like this, and hit, and open our mouth really wide, right? And then we're gonna
Yeah.
do giraffe tongue and stick out our tongue. And so it just helped me, have fun, animal.
Yeah.
And my wife and her friend were in the bathroom, brushing the kids' teeth. Their friends were over visiting from where they're at. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And Ashley goes, "Oh, it's something Brock came up with to help Declan learn to brush his teeth and to have fun doing it." Oh, well, fun, that's a great idea. And so like I overheard that conversation, like, "Oh, interesting. She thinks that's a good idea, and we use it and it's working. Maybe it'd make a good book." So
There.
I put that was it. That was like the main part, right? Then I developed a whole book around bedtime on Noah's Ark. And it's this idea of this little kiddo. It's actually the animals on Noah's Ark going through the routine for bedtime, just getting ready. Yeah, all these sweet little moments. And it actually is my best-selling book.
Wow.
So the reason why I tell you that story, I didn't ever set out to write picture books or board books. That was not my thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna write middle grade fiction. That's what I like, and devos. But I found how this book was selling, and hearing stories and seeing reviews of people like, "We do this at bedtime. It's one of our pastor's kids. He's every Sunday when I go to church, Taylor loves this book. That's all she wants to read at night." I'm like, "What in the world?" And so you realize the impact that these sweet little books with very few words, 150 words, have on little kids at an early age, and they get on something they really love. They're in their mom and dad's lap. They're asking their grandma and grandpa to read it when they come over.
Yeah.
And you realize that there's this opportunity for not only you to invest in these little kids at an early age, but for them to actually invest in their parents and their grandparents through the
Wow.
books that they love. I know. So this is where it gets really exciting, right? So these board books, there's 4 of them. We've got Alphabets and Animal with Dr. Fizzlebop, and I'm holding it up if you're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Super simple colors and counting with Dr. Fizzlebop. Sometimes they get mixed up. We got the basic ones, right? Counting
Yeah.
colors. Every little kiddo needs to learn those. They're fun to do that. Alphabets and Animals, another great one, gets kids excited, involved in learning their letters. Important.
Yeah.
But then we did 2 who are really unique: weather and space. And space is one of my favorite subjects. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer when I was in high school, design spaceships. And right now, Monica, this generation, the kids that are in elementary school, the kids that are being born, the toddlers, one of them is going to walk on Mars,
Amazing.
and the moon, and probably travel to Titan. And so I just love the idea. And this is going to take me all the way back to another thing I said earlier. It is so important that our little kids take their faith into the STEAM, I know we say STEAM now too, the STEM fields now, that they take their faith into as they explore science, as they go to the Mars, to the moon, as they engineer projects, as they
Yeah.
create beautiful concepts, as they look into our genetics, right, and design new medicines. If they
Right.
take their faith into that, I think that's what the business component is for so long. People don't, God can't be part of it, so now we gotta figure this out ourselves. Oh, wait, what if God is doing this all to work the way it is? Ding, ding, ding. Maybe we start looking at it from that intelligent design perspective. Maybe we can
Yeah.
start unlocking some real mysteries on using that faith component to help us get there. And so I just think, sorry, I'll stop there, but there's just this full cycle of how these
Yeah.
all connect back together. I think these board books at an early age, helping kids lock in that it is okay to love Jesus and be a scientist. It's okay to love Jesus and look at the world around you and say, "Oh, he made it work that way," and have that simple perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you're showing us is there is an eternal perspective here that we might be missing out on
Mhm.
when we don't do these things. I say often on the podcast, in anything that I write, that what we are doing is shaping our community. It's shaping our and it's shaping the world. by how we include faith in young children's lives. And what you're saying is, what if what we've been missing out in science is the Holy Spirit? What if we actually relied on his prompting, his direction, his guidance to help us using the passions and skills, like just like you're doing, using the passions and skills that God's placed within us. We're using that, relying on the Holy Spirit then to take us back to God's original design. Like, I am a big believer in the fact that when Jesus came, he ushered in the kingdom of God now, and he is bringing Eden back to earth, right? Like, he's bringing perfection back to earth.
Yeah.
Through his people. So as we make things right in the world, as we focus on God's design in different parts of creation, medicine, human health and wellness, like even our mental and body health, right? Mental and physical health. If we were to bring scientists into this world that trust God's design
Yep.
and learn anatomy and all those things, right, that go into who God has made us to be fully, imagine what God could do.
Yep. I think you're absolutely.
I don't think that we can even imagine what God could do through this next generation if they really have a strong faith and a strong science background. I mean, whatever passions God placed in them, right? Like, I see in you, right? Your passion is all of these. Like, you're super curious about the world, and God's gifted you as a writer. And then you say, oh, I'm a dad, and I love making these memories with my kids. And the Holy Spirit gives you these promptings of like, oh, hey, that mattered to another mom. I have these connections. I love that God works that way, right? I have these connections in the publishing world. What if I just explored that a little bit? And here we are. Now you're equipping some of us to then also build those passions into young children. So when we're looking in our classrooms at what are these young, I love to do this. If in a classroom of 4-year-olds, you can see what kids are passionate about, right? So
Yeah.
when you were 4, you wanted to be a paleontologist. So you're interested in dinosaurs. Okay, what are we doing with that little 4-year-old to say, hey, let's learn everything we can about bones, about skeletons, about fossils, about all of that. What are we doing? And are we connecting that back to God? And then also, how are we helping them use those curiosities to build the skills that we know, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, what's God going to do with that? What's God going to do with that? Because maybe that kid will become an aerospace engineer and go explore life on Mars. Maybe that kid will become a paleontologist or an archaeologist and, I don't know, find lost civilizations that we don't know about yet. Right.
Yeah.
Really. Maybe that will create a curiosity in a child that leads them to pursue medicine, where they discover medicines that we've never even thought of before that can cure things that we right now are terminal, right? We don't know, but we have a part in it. We have a part in it today as we're teaching 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, along with the passions that they're already naturally showing.
I think a part and a responsibility. I think you're absolutely right. Like, that's, you said earlier, in these classrooms, like, how do we, where do we show our faith, or how do we exude our faith? And I think that goes back to the fruits of the Spirit. And God talks early on, or in the Galatians, he talks about all these characteristics that we should have. Well, if we're living by the Spirit, as you mentioned, and the Spirit's there in our life, these moments, and it's going to exude from us. Jesus is going to come out of us, and kids are going to experience that love and that passion, all those great things. But they're also going to build trust. And when they trust an adult that's in their life, a teacher or a parent or a grandparent, then they look at that adult. If that adult is showing Christ-like behavior and exuding those kind of characteristics, like, I want to be like that. And they may not say that as a 5-year-old or a 4-year-old or 6-year-old, but thinking it. And as they get older, they start to want to live that life out too. And so what you said is so important. The little things you're doing now, the archaeologist that you might inspire, the astro engineer who's flying on a spaceship out to the far reaches of our solar system, what they're inspired to believe in those hard times, in how they're viewing the world, how they're seeing what God has created. I think all that is going to impact not just the generation we're talking about right now, but the generation after that and the one after that, and set us on a new course of where we could take these kiddos and what they could learn and believe. And you're also right. I think often the Holy Spirit prompts us and we don't listen. Like, that can't be that. But when we do listen, I think that's when big breakthroughs happen, not only in our life, but in our families' lives, in our communities' lives, and in places like science. That's when I think breakthroughs can really happen.
You just recently published a middle reader book called The parable port.
Yes, parable port. I wrote this with a co-author named Sean Stevenson, who's actually a children's pastor. Oh, by the way, he has stocked every one of his toddler room with the Super Simple Science board books and says his kid just loved them at church because they can pull them out and read them.
Yep.
Side tangent. Back to parable port. So parable port is this brand new middle grade series. The first book comes out March 3rd. The second book comes out June 9th. And then every year from there, 27, 28 will be another book. And basically, it's about these kids in this little town called Parable Port where the parables of Jesus come to life. So
Love it.
There's a lot of adventure, a lot of mystery here. Kids have to unpack clues. But what we really did was we created this cast of kids that we feel like any kid can see themselves in one of these kids and connect in the very different variety of kiddos with different passions and things they want. And we want kids to connect, oh, yeah, I'm Duck. Oh, yeah, I'm Grace. Wait, I'm like JR. And see themselves in this story as these kids explore and experience the parables. But really, Monica, it's for me, it's for you. The parables of Jesus can be a little confusing if you read them. They can be hard. It takes time to study and unpack them to understand what was Jesus saying and why was he saying it and how do I apply that to my life. And so we're hoping that through these books, we can have fun with the parables, but ultimately kids will come away understanding what Jesus was doing and how he's telling them to use their life to grow. The first one's about the parable of the sower. And what does that mean? What does it look like to be a seed on the rocks, the stony path, a seed that the birds take away, a seed that grows in good soil? What does that mean? And so, that's the Parable Port series. The first one is called Sower's Secret. And the second one is Captain's Clue.
So with these books, short chapter books, so they could be an easy bedtime story or read aloud for a preschool classroom as well. Still a great story that would engage them.
Absolutely, yeah. They're called middle grade, but they're very short middle grade books, like 20,000 words. My 10-year-old and I have been reading them all aloud as I go. And here's the thing, Micah, I don't know if you know this, but typically an author's kids don't read their books. They've heard about so much, they don't want to read your books. Declan has been loving them. We're reading the third book right now. It's still in manuscript form, so we haven't even gone through the dev edits yet. And he's asking for one more chapter, and we read 3 chapters last night. One more chapter. And so I think as a read aloud, what you just said, as a read aloud to younger kids, it's an excellent choice because it's fun and it's exciting and there's adventure on every page.
Yeah.
And ultimately, though, it's connecting these kids back to who Jesus was and the stories he told. And so that's what we really want. But perfect read aloud for your early elementary kids for sure.
Yeah. And I love that hopefully as they get into that older elementary age, they'll see the book on the shelf, have those super positive, sweet memories of reading with an adult, and then come back and read it themselves again as they are able to read. Yeah.
It's those moments of connection. It's finding things to read aloud together for fun, even at an early age. And listen, if your 4-year-old, 5-year-old doesn't understand everything that's happening on the page, the fact that they're there with their older siblings or you and you're reading aloud, they are part of that community and they're loving watching you interact with their siblings and being part of that. They don't want to be left out. It's not, hey, you're a little, time to go to bed. We're going to read this aloud later. It's let them be part of it and let them take it in. Absolutely.
That to me is one of those conversations that, I mean, we could have a whole separate conversation about that, honestly, that none of us understand everything the first time. That all of our faith, all of learning in general is a growth process, right? We understand a little bit, and then the next time we understand a little bit more, and then the next time we understand a little bit more. And I mean, I'm going to be 50 this year, and there are still a lot of things that I'm learning about God, about creation, about science, about everything. And I love that. I'm grateful that we don't hit a finish line here, that we get to keep learning forever. Okay, quick story before we jump back into this episode. Picture this. It's summer in Texas. It's warm outside. The parking lot is filling up. The doors open. You've got your favorite iced coffee or water bottle in your hand. There's laughter in the hallways. Name tags are going on. Hugs between teachers who haven't seen each other since May. There's a buzz of energy and excitement. A room full of early educators who love Jesus and love children, ready to embark on another journey of growth. That's what our annual 2-day conferences feel like. For 2 whole days, Tuesday and Wednesday. Yes, you heard that right. Tuesday and Wednesday this year. July 14th and 15th in Georgetown, Texas, or August 4th and 5th in McKinney, Texas. We gather together to learn, to laugh, to worship, and refuel. You might walk into a breakout session led by a dynamic presenter equipping first-year teachers with classroom confidence. Down the hall, there's a seasoned director soaking up fresh leadership insight. Every age group, every role, birth through kindergarten, there's something here for you. And this year's keynotes, oh, I am so excited about them. We'll kick off Tuesday morning with Dr. Melissa Ewing, helping us understand how to truly set children up for success through the lens of brain research. Tuesday afternoon, Debbie Simmons, a true legacy architect, will challenge us to think long-term about the impact we're building every single day. Wednesday morning, Joy Wendling from Created to Play will remind us that play isn't just for children. We'll explore how God wired each one of us uniquely and how we connect with Him through our own play personalities. And we'll wrap up our time together with a hilarious sketch comedy duo, the Skitsy Chicks, who will have you laughing all the way to your car because early childhood is eternally important, but we don't have to be so serious all the time. Registration opens April 1st and stays open until about a week before each event. So let me ask you, where will you join us this conference season? Head over to earlychildhoodchristiannetwork.com to see all the details and save your seat today. Okay, now let's jump back into this episode. I want to switch gears just a little bit. I've heard you say a couple of times that you have these memories and you've created these memories with your children, with them sitting in your lap and reading stories or sitting with you or next to you as you're doing these science experiments. Talk to me a little bit about why you think it's so important that, why do these moments matter?
Yeah. I think so. And right now we see a lot. Parents are so distracted. Kids are so distracted. We are more disconnected than we ever have. And so okay, we'll get back to that sitting in our laps. This is really important. Our culture is in a very sad, depressive state at times, right? They're disconnected. Yeah. There's not the same community. When I grew up as a child, we had a TV, yes, and I had a Sega Genesis as I got older. But mostly, I would leave my house on my bicycle, and I would ride out and meet my friends, and we go play in the woods. And then when the lights started going down, we talk about this 1980s, 1990s lifestyle. We come home, no cell phone. If I really need something, there's probably a neighbor or someone in town I knew. I could go use their phone. I could go in their house safely and call home. It's a sense of community. I grew up in a very small town of 5,000, but it was a sense of community that existed. And that sense of community, it still exists in pockets. I think if we work at it, we can find community in our church, in our schools. But even the school my kids go to is a charter school. So there's no community school. These kids come from all over the town I live in, which is a very big town of like 600,000 people, right? So it's not so easy just to walk down the street and see a friend that you know from school. Okay. We go to a church that's all the way across town. So it's not so easy to walk down the street and see somebody from our local church. It's just a different place. And then you add in the distraction of devices, right? Oh, I'm reading that news article again. I'm watching that show. There's so many shows to watch, right? And I love all this content. I want to consume it all. I want to be part of it. My kid's doing his homework, but then he wants to just decompress. So I'm going to let him go decompress by playing a video game or watch a show or whatever. It's not go play with your friends. It's not let's get a game time around the table together, play games together. And we got in this cycle since I think Jonathan Haidt talks about, I think the 2009, right? When the iPhone started coming out, we started seeing ourselves in this cycle as technology got there in our home. And so now if you have older kids and those times weren't built early on that we're going to talk about, you're stuck. You're like, oh, we never developed the rhythm of spending time together. We never developed the rhythm of sitting together. We never developed the rhythm of doing non-technology or off-screen things together. How do we fix this? It's broken and we're all separate and we're at the restaurant and we're all on our devices. We don't even know how to have a conversation together. We don't know how to talk. We don't know the questions to ask. We text each other from different parts of the house. My kid texts me, hey, Dad, can you do this? Like, what? So, and it's not doom and gloom. It's not too late. But for those parents who do have younger kids, what is so important, what we've seen in our kids, so we don't have TVs in our house. We do have an iPad we use on trips back to Illinois, but we don't have screens. Our kids, we have no video game systems in our home. There's no Xbox, no PlayStation. I love PlayStation 2 when I grew up. I played it all the time, so much that I'd be up till 1 a.m. and then go to college the next day. What was I thinking, right? I love playing video games, but we don't have it in our house. And early on with our kids, reading was the important thing. My kids read way better than I ever could have read. Better than I read now. I go to our kitchen counter, Monica, and I'm walking into the house And there's my 16-year-old, and she's reading Moby Dick. Next 4-year-old reading Shakespeare's great works. And I'm like, this is what you've chosen to read. This is what you've picked up. Yeah. And they're just going all the way through it. They've chosen books on their own. They're not school reads. They're just ones we have on our bookshelf. It's those kind of things that you realize that, these kids and reading, reading can also be a distraction, right? You can get so into a book that you ignore the whole world around you, right? It can be
That's me.
and it can be isolating too. But, I think there's a healthy development, right? We can
Yeah.
argue for that a little bit more than TV screen time, right? Because your brain's doing things. But
Yeah.
but this early stage, these parents that we're talking to, the ones who have little kids, and this is what we did early. We read before bedtime. We always read story time. When we were bored or we didn't know what to do, we'd go to the couch, we'd sit down with a book, and one of my favorite pictures is me with Declan reading Where the Wild Things Are. One of my favorite books of all time. And he put this little crown on his head as we sat down to read because he was excited to read this book. But developing those moments early, those rhythms of spending time together, exploring your imagination by reading books out loud, by doing things, activities together, those build relationship. They build trust. They create opportunities to communicate, ask questions, and answer and respond. The experiments in the Faith and Science of Dr. Fizzlebop, the 52-week devotional, they are all so super simple. Monica, parents are often intimidated, as I am. If I open this devotional, am I going to have the answers? Am I going to know how to answer the questions my kid asked me? Because this is complex. It's got science. I don't know the science. It's got faith elements. I don't know what God wants. But the answers are all in this devotional. The idea of this devotional specifically is when a parent turns to the page, everything is explained. There's a Dr. Fizzlebop, what's happening question, and it answers exactly the science that's going on in the experiment. Then there's a devotional that unpacks it with reflection questions to help kids and parents talk about what they learned, and this does.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't give you all the answers from the Bible in there. What I tell parents is the best, and this is getting to your question, the best way to build relationship and trust is when you don't know the answer to say, let's go look it up. And you go to your Bible and you open up and you read the verse and you think, well, what do you think that means? I think this is what God's saying to us. And if you don't have make up an answer, research further. Kids are going to love researching with you, going deeper in the word and discovering it's okay if you don't know. Learning alongside you as they see you learn is one of the best gifts you can give them, right? So, I said a lot, but I think that's what I want parents to get. And that's what I think we've done with our kiddos is create opportunities to ask questions and answers. We don't always have the answers for our kids, but we'll go discover it together. We'll take the time to learn together.
Yeah. I think what you're saying, even with these simple board books, is that we can sit down with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old and read these simple books that talk about God, that talk about science, that are engaging for young children. And then what we're actually doing is we're not just teaching them about science or about God. What we're doing is we're creating a sense, right? A sense of safety and trust. This circle of trust, right? This person that's reading this to me is someone who cares for me, who loves me. I can trust them so that when I have questions, when I'm curious about something, when I am confused about something, this is where I'm going to go.
Yep.
And then you've created this devotional that clarify for me real quick. The board book, 0 to 4, 5 years old, right? The devotional?
8 to 12 is what we like to
They
say.
can do it themselves, 8 to 12, but with parent help, we're saying maybe preschool.
Yeah, you could go all the way down to 2 and 3. The one experience, if we get to it, called the experience, if we do them and show you, they are so simple. They're in the book. They're meant for any age in the family can sit around the dining table together and do it together. So any age.
One thing you said a minute ago that I think is really important is as an adult, whether you're a classroom teacher, whether you're a parent, a caregiver of some kind, or a grandparent, to remember that you don't actually have to have all the answers, that there is a lot of power and it's a powerful thing to sit with your child and say, I don't know, but let's go find out. I don't know, but let's go read a little bit more. Let's go research a little bit more. That, again, that's another place that we're building trust with young children, that we're saying, I don't actually know everything, and that's okay.
It's okay.
Actually, we have a loving Heavenly Father who does understand. And as we get to know him more, we understand more. And that sense of comfort that we're then bringing to these young children to go, hey, it's okay if you don't know everything. It's okay if sometimes you're confused. And it's awesome that you're curious about all these things.
Yep.
experience life. I love that. Okay, let's do some science experiments.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, we and what I like to tell parents is in the devotional, we have a list of all the ingredients. Most of them, 90% of the experiments,
Yeah.
you have the ingredients right now in your house.
Love that.
It's not supposed to be, I've got to prep a whole week before we go do this experiment together. No, no, no. Kids say it's a Saturday afternoon. They're bored. You're trying to, let's do an experiment together. Pull out the book. You open up your pantry, and I almost guarantee, because you can't really guarantee anything in these days.
Yeah.
I don't want any lawsuits.
Most likely.
90%. You have them in your house. So I'm actually going to do a couple that I think you'll have. Now, the first one is my favorite. And this one's not in the board books. This is in the devotional.
The devotional.
The Fizz Inflator. Okay. So this one, Monica, at home, you have maybe a plastic bottle or a bottle, any bottle at home.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Plenty.
First ingredient taken care of. Do you have a balloon? If you're a parent of preschoolers, you probably have a balloon somewhere in your house. Okay.
I have multiple colors.
There you go. All right. Then you have baking soda.
Yep.
Okay. You got some baking soda, and you probably got vinegar, maybe, right?
Yes.
Some form of vinegar. Now, Monica, do you know what vinegar is? What's considered?
Vinegar is an acid.
You got it. And do you know what baking soda is?
A base.
So
But I don't know that.
Yeah.
These are those crazy memories from science that I'm like, do I know this? I don't know if I know this, but yes.
But Monica, isn't that amazing? Like, these things we learn early on, they're stuck. They're here. And so it might take some prompting. It might take a moment to think through it, but you have it in there. You've learned it at some point. And so you just proved my exact point of what we put these memories in at kids early on. They will come back out later. You knew what an acid and a base were. So this is a little easier one, okay? This is baking soda is a solid and vinegar is a liquid. So in this experiment, we're going to take three. We're going to actually start with two of the forms of matter, and we're going to make a third, which is really cool, okay? So there's science all around us to learn. Okay, so first, here's what we're going to do. Let me get myself together. And do you have a funnel at home? Probably a funnel, right? Yes. So we got a funnel. Okay, so first we're going to pour some vinegar.
If not, you can use a piece of paper and just roll.
Yes, you can. We actually show that in one of the experiments, how to make your own funnel. And a sieve. It's fun. Okay, so we're going to put some vinegar in here. Now, I'm not going to be scientific today. And if you do this at home with a family of 4, 5, 6 kids, don't be scientific. Have everybody use different levels of baking soda and vinegar, and then have them hypothesize, which means make an educated guess on who they think the balloon will be the biggest, whose reaction.
I love it.
Fun, right? Super simple. So we're going to put the vinegar in here, and listen. Oh, you know what? I used this bottle before, so there's a little bit of baking soda in there. That wasn't what I wanted to happen. Oh, okay, 1 second. I'm going to go up here for 2 seconds, okay? Here we go. I'll be right back. Entertainment.
Got it. Oh, y'all, he's going to do a fun experiment. This would be easy to do in your classroom while he goes and figures out a new bottle.
Now, here's what happened. So I did this experiment recently, and I didn't get a new clean bottle, I realized. So there's some baking soda residue in there still from a previous time. So we had our reaction. However, I have now retrieved a 2-liter bottle, okay? So we're going to go here, and we're going to pour our vinegar in here, okay? Well, a little more in this one for fun, okay? We put our vinegar in the bottle.
Got it.
There it is. Put it in there.
Yep.
And next up, we're going to take our balloon, and we're going to put baking soda in our balloon. So stretch it out just a little bit, okay? This balloon was new this morning, so I know this one hasn't been used. And
scoop in the baking soda. Here we go.
Right, we have an audio audience too, don't we? So thank you for.
We will take care of y'all. If you're just listening, we're scooping baking soda into a balloon using a funnel. Do you have to measure, Dr. Fizzlebop?
In the devotional, there are measurements to do. Right?
Got it.
But since we're doing, we're also using a 2-liter bottle this time. But when you do it with your kids, don't measure. Yeah. Have them choose how much vinegar and how much baking soda so that you can then hypothesize what the reaction might be like. Because that's so fun. And they get a guess. Mine's gonna be bigger. Mine's gonna be smaller. And then they'll see who's actually largest and what worked and didn't work. So
I love it.
Once we have our balloon with our baking soda, we're gonna take the lid. Now, this is funny because kids don't typically get this wrong, but the amount of adults I do this with do, okay? So we're gonna take our balloon, we're gonna put the end of the balloon over the bottle, the opening of the bottle, okay? But we're not gonna flip the balloon up yet, right? We wanna hold the balloon to the side. So you can see I've got the balloon to the side, hanging up. And then, Monica, if you would, I'm gonna have you count down from 3, and we're gonna start the experiment.
Here we go.
Okay.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
So you lift the balloon and right away, there's a
Oh, look at that. That balloon is inflating immediately as the baking soda and the vinegar interact. I love it.
So what's amazing about this experiment, and again, for friends at home, so we have created a chemical reaction. The baking soda and the acid went together and made carbon dioxide or a gas. So we took a solid and a liquid and we made a gas. We have 3 forms of matter
What?
in this experiment. What's fun is it's still fizzing around in here. Now, I mentioned adults do this wrong sometimes. What's hilarious is the adults will then instead go like this and they'll tip over their bottle and they have a vinegar balloon. We don't want a vinegar balloon at home. So always have the bottle downside and the balloon right side up.
Let the air come up. We don't need to flip it upside down. There you go.
And what's happening is our bottle, now plastic bottles aren't completely rigid, right? But if you feel it compared to when you did, you'll feel the pressure in here. And what's amazing is the bottle is generally a rigid structure. So when you create that gas, it needs to escape. It can only make the bottle go so big. So like if you ever have a Coca-Cola bottle or a Pepsi bottle and you shake it, right, it gets really hard and solid because all that gas has nowhere to go. And if you do it too much, you could explode your bottle or your can. Our balloon is a relief. So the gas goes up out of the bottle, the rigid structure, into the balloon and inflates it because the balloon is not rigid. It expands. The balloon expands. So you can see we made a lot of gas. Yesterday, I did one and the balloon was much smaller because I used a smaller bottle. So depending on the amount of baking soda and vinegar you use, you'll get a bigger or smaller reaction and a bigger or smaller balloon. And so
Love it.
it's safe. So when you're done, you can just dump the bottle of vinegar baking soda down your sink and it might do some cleaning for you. But you have a balloon afterwards. And so for early kids, for little kids,
Yeah.
experiment, again, you want to make sure they don't spill vinegar all over the floor, but it's a super simple one. And Monica, kids' eyes go so wide because they're not expecting the reaction to do this. And then they have a fun balloon and we love balloons. But it is a super simple experiment to do at home. Super simple.
Well, that experiment just now, like you gave us multiple concepts, multiple science concepts to teach, right? We're doing states of matter. We're doing, an acid and a base, if you want to go there. We're doing the rigid versus flexible, like non-rigid in the balloon, all that, like so many different things that we could be science concept, right? STEM concept that we can be teaching children in this. Connected to faith, though.
Yeah, and you looked at it from a different ages. You just mentioned all the different concepts.
Yeah.
Depending on the age group you're with, is
Yeah.
the concept that you lean into and how you learn them. And
Right.
this one is one I actually like. Do you want me to give you a little faith moment real quick? Because I
Yeah.
go the whole thing because that can take another 20 minutes.
No, we don't need 20 minutes. Give me a quick faith connection.
So the one I love here, we actually talked about media earlier. What you consume, what you put into will come out as an expression. And
Oh,
so as that balloon inflates, we're seeing the expression of the things that we put into our body. And so if those are good things, that expression is good. We talked about the fruits of the spirit earlier.
yeah.
Those come back out of our body if that's what we consume. The Bible, the good things. If we consume bad things, coarse language, things that aren't great for our body, that is what's going to come back out of us. So I like to say, like, here's the ingredients going in, here's the things going in, and then you had the reaction and it's time, and that's what comes back out. And so you can apply that to those 10,
Wow. Great lesson. Yeah.
10 seconds, but we can make it longer if we need sometime.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, though. I mean, you're connecting the faith to the science that we love to do anyway. I mean, I know I did that same experiment in my preschool, in my 4-year-old pre-K classroom every year, and they loved it every year,
They love it.
but I didn't connect it to faith. And I wouldn't.
That's simple, right? That was
Yeah.
actually a 10-second explanation, right?
Yeah.
Now, you can explain it as you go to like, here's this, and here's that, right? So but it's super simple and fun. I have another one for you. If that's
Okay.
I have two. The third one is so ridiculous, it'll take us about 4 seconds to do. This one's only about a minute.
So let's.
I've got this for the audio subscribers. Do you have a plastic cup at home, like a plastic solo cup, for example? Yep, I have them. Do you have a paper clip
Yes.
and a string?
Yes.
Paper towels?
Yes.
Water?
Yes.
You now have chicken sounds from a cup or cluck from a cup at home.
Okay.
Yes. So you have it at home, right? So all you do for this one is really simple. You poke a small hole in the bottom of the cup, okay? So don't try to drink out of it afterwards.
Right.
First, you take a paper clip and you tie your string to the end of the paper clip.
Got
What you're
it.
doing there is creating an anchor. So the paper clip is your anchor. And then you
Yeah.
take the string and you put the string through the hole of your cup. So the
Yep.
anchor should stay on the outside of the bottom of your cup, and the
Yep.
string goes through the opening of your cup, just like this. Okay.
Got it.
It's actually your device. It's all made. Do you know what this device is considered called? We talked about it earlier.
An amplifier is what you called it earlier.
So next, we need to right now, if I goes, you can kind of hear me rub the string, right? You can kind of hear
Yeah.
it. Now, If I take the string out, which I won't because the problem is I'm really not good at getting strings through small holes. But if I do it like this, you hear that?
Yes,
Probably
it's a
not really.
tiny sound.
Maybe a little bit, right? When I do hear, you can hear it more. You can hear it quite a bit more if you're on my side of the camera for sure. But
Yeah.
the point is that without the amplifier, the sound is very quiet on the string. These little vibrations, you can't hear them. But when the sounds are coming through the amplifier, you can really hear them. This
Mhm.
amplifier then takes all those vibrations and expounds it, boom, makes it so much louder. It projects the sounds out. That's how an amplifier works. That's fun. Because sometimes it can be hard for kids to hear that. And if you're in a big crowd, it can be very challenging to hear that little sound. What we do is we
Yeah.
take a paper towel, we put it in water, and you don't really want to soak it, but you want to get just enough. So squeeze it out so it's wet. And this is going to help us
Okay.
create friction. It's going to cause more friction for us, okay? So wet paper towel, we hold up our amplifier like this. I've got the amplifier, the cup, upside down in my hand. The anchor is at the very top, and the string is hanging down loosely.
Yeah.
I've now taken a small piece of paper towel, one sheet, folded up to be about, 2 inches by a half inch, something like that. And I have it wet. I fold it over around the string like this. You'll want to watch the YouTube for this one.
Yeah.
I pull like this, and then I'm going to drop it down in short, quick jerks. As I said, I've got the cup upside down, and I've got the string hanging loosely out. I take my wet paper towel and I put it on the string. So it's kind of clamped on like that with my
Yeah.
hands. And I'm going to pull it down in quick, short jerks. Ready?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So it sounds kind of like a clucking chicken if you
Yes.
do it right. And what is so fun, and you can do a little longer, right?
Yeah.
And I love telling kids, keep that amplifier at home. So if you need to wake mom and dad up in the morning like a rooster, you've got a chicken.
That is the best.
Parents don't love that idea so much, but hey, it's really fun. But that's an amplifier. And so what we've done is the friction of the water and the paper towel on the string, it adds more friction, right? So you hear it. So that sound is projected out. And so that's actually the vibrations of the string vibrating. And the amplifier is making it so we can hear those vibrations, which typically we can't always hear with our human ear. So that is how the amplifier works. So chicken sounds for like I like to say, cluck from a cup.
I love that. Okay, connect that to May for us.
Yes. This one actually, I go the longer route, so I'll fake it to a short. But, we think about in the Bible when Peter denies Jesus 3 times, right? He is seeing Jesus. He knows who he is. He is seeing miracles. He knows that this is clearly the Savior. We've read about them. We've heard about them. We know who Jesus is, but we didn't see like Peter. And even then, Peter denied Jesus, right? And it was when the rooster crowed that he realized, what have I done? What have I done? And so I really like to think about this amplifier, right? When the string's not in there, it's quiet. We don't really hear it. We don't really know. We don't hear the sounds. Maybe we're just like in denial of what we're hearing. But when we put it to an amplifier and it's projected, we start to hear those sounds and we can no longer deny who Jesus is. We know who he is. We know what he's done in our life. And so I just like to think the idea of what that rooster that Peter heard was this amplification of, you know who I am. Why are you denying me? You've been warned. Here I am. Why? And so the idea, the concept here is like, it can be quiet. The ideas in our mind that we can kind of pass aside and we can ignore it. But eventually God's voice is loud. We talked about the Holy Spirit earlier. It's loud. It'll get to us and we can no longer deny who Jesus is. And if we pursue Christ and if we're in our Bible daily, we're going to know that word so well that it'll be in our mind bouncing around. We can't deny who he is because we know without a doubt who Jesus is. So I kind of think sometimes Peter had a little easier. He got to see Jesus, right?
Yeah.
We're reading from the Bible and we're reading it about 2,000 years later, but we are in God's word. It's like we are with him. If we're communicating with God in prayer every day, it is like we're with him. And so as that is in our mind, in our head, we can't deny him. The voice will get louder and louder. We will hear the Holy Spirit and God telling us, come to me, my child. Come to me, my child. And we talked about prompting earlier. So that's kind of how I would talk about that one. That was I cut out a lot. Do it quick.
But that's great. I think that's really great for kids to understand, right? We can know that God is real, that his voice will be loud enough for us to understand.
Yeah.
So I love that. Okay, last answer. Let's go.
Sir, it's pre-made. It's super simple. This is from the Super Simple Science Space book. The Cluck from the Sounds Cup was from the counting book, by the way. They're also both in the devotional book, but this one is not. This one is separate. And this one, you can do this yourself at home, or you can go to my website, fizzlebop.com, and you can download the templates of the rockets and cut them out for your kids.
Okay.
So I've already got some rockets, but you can have them draw rockets. You can color them. This is so simple, Monica. So all you need is some paper printed out, right? With these little rockets, kids cut them out. They color them, super cute, 2 inches by an inch. but draw a rocket if you're our audio audience right now listening. Then there's two kinds of straws. Well, there's a lot of straws, but you need some thin straws, these little tiny ones we use for juice and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then you need some thick straws like we'd use for boba or a milkshake maybe, right?
Oh,
So
yeah. I get it.
cut off about 1 inch or 2 inches of the boba straw, so a piece of it, right? And you're going to take that and you're going to tape it to the back of your rocket. So you're
Love
going
it.
to tape it along the sides, and the very top of the straw, at the top of the rocket, close that up with tape. Seal it so no air can escape.
Okay.
We've got our rocket. A rocket is built. It is ready for launch. Now, we need our propellant. There's many kinds of propellant. There's chemical propellants, there's liquid propellants, there's mechanical propellants. Well, this time you're the propellant. You're going to be the one propelling your rocket. And so you take the smaller straw, the skinny straws, probably a better way to say it, the skinny straw, and insert it in the wider straw, right? The wider straw.
Okay.
All right, count me down. I can only do this one time because I don't know where the rocket's going to go. But this one is so fun. So count me down from 3 again.
3, 2, 1. Blast off.
And away the rocket went.
I love it.
So
Yeah.
it's super simple and fun, and it's reusable. The kids can go grab their rockets, maybe their name on the back, so we have no arguments on whose rocket's whose rocket.
Yep, that's a good idea.
But they can put it on the straw, and they can blow that rocket again and again. And you know what I like to talk about this one is, and this is much more simple because little kids, right? God breathed life into us. He made us more unique than any other part of creation. He did a fun lung experiment we can talk about some other time, but he did not breathe into the animals. He only breathed into the humans. And so because of that, we're powered in a different way. We think differently. We're imaginative. We're meant for great things, to do great things. And so like this rocket can blast off into outer space and go explore the furthest reaches of God's creation, so can you. And you're the one powering that because it's what you do with your life on where you'll go and how you'll follow what God has made you to be in you, to make you great, to do great things for him. And so when we have that purpose in our life, and like the little rocket is powered by our breath, and it goes off to the far galaxies, so can you. You can go do great things for God. So that's kind of my quick little stint on that one.
Listen, this has been such a fun conversation. And I think that experiment right there is the perfect conclusion, really, that God has created us differently than the animals. We are a unique creation, and that with his power, we can do great things for him.
Great thing.
Brock, thanks for using your passion to equip us to do a better job of connecting faith and science and just building a relationship with young kids. What a gift.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me. I hope this was fun. I had a blast. So thank you for having me.
Brock, this has been so much fun. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
I loved chatting with Brock Eastman today. He is definitely passionate about using science to build connections and relationships with young children. I heard him say it over and over and over. These moments that children sit in a caregiver's lap and read a story or participate in a memorable experiment, these are lifelong memories that slowly but surely become the foundations of faith, of curiosity, of confidence in who these children were made to be by God. Next time you're thinking about doing a fun science experiment, pause and think for just a minute. How does this apply to God's design? How can I connect this to faith? Isn't it amazing to think that this young generation of children might be the generation that becomes faith-filled scientists rather than people who separate science and faith into two different things? Scientists who are willing to bring God's design into their discoveries and into their explorations. Can you just imagine what might happen? You are part of making that possible by choosing to integrate faith into all that you do in your classroom. I'm praying for you that God would fill you with joy and hope as you teach young children, and that he would give you creative ideas for connecting faith and fun as often as you can. The show notes for this episode include lots of links to many of Dr. Fizzlebop's resources. Like I said at the beginning, he even has a really fun and easy Father's Day focused experiment and Devo that might be great to share with the dads in your church or in your program. Keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference for eternity. Thanks for spending time with us today on Reimagine Childhood. We hope you walk away with a fresh idea, a little encouragement, and a big reminder that your work with young children truly changes lives. If this episode was helpful, would you take a moment to subscribe? Rate the show in whichever app you listen, and then share this episode with someone who might benefit. Your engagement helps us reach more teachers and caregivers who are shaping the next generation for Jesus. Stay connected with us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube, and our website at earlychildhoodchristiannetwork.com. Until next time, keep nurturing wonder, faith, and joy in the children God has placed in your care.